The United States is still in a heightened threat situation, which means that tensions are high. As global conflicts get worse and the threat of terrorist strikes grows, it has never been more important to strengthen defense systems. The United States has spent an unbelievable amount of money building a very strong defense system in answer to these scary events. But what can this amazing piece of technology really do? Also, is this huge spending really enough to keep the country safe? Come with us as we look into the powerful features of the USA's brand new $1 million defense system. The U.S. Air Force is finally getting rid of the old LGM 30 Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile. The U.S. is updating its land-based nuclear weapons system with the new, more powerful LGM 355A Sentinel ICBM. When it was first being made, the Sentinel ICBM was known as the ground-based strategic deterrent. The Department of Defense's main job is to keep nuclear weapons from being used. It backs up all of the US's military operations around the world and is the most important part of our defense and the defense of our allies. The Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center is in charge of all of the Air Force's nuclear weapons, from buying them to keeping them in good shape to updating them and finally getting rid of them. Some parts of the Minuteman III have been updated since it began in the early 1970s, but most of the main system still uses the old gear. The United States has spent over $297 million on a new defense system. Let's talk about what it can do and how it works. The Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent, or LGM 35.5 Sentinel, is the name of a new American land-based intercontinental ballistic missile system that is still being worked on. Between 2029 and 2075, it will take the place of all 450 Minuteman III missiles. At the moment, the Minuteman weapons are in North Dakota, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, and Nebraska. After Boeing pulled its plan, the Department of the Air Force gave Northrop Grumman a $13.3 billion deal to build the LGM-35 in 2020. Northrop Grumman works with a number of outside companies such as Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, Bechtel, Honeywell, Aerojet Rocketdyne, and others. It was Parsons and Textron. The U.S. Air Force just recently said that the program would take 2 years longer to launch because it would cost over $125 billion instead of the original $95.3 billion. This is a 37% increase in cost. The full cost of the Sentinel program was estimated to be $140.9 billion by the Department of Defense on July 8, 2024. The most recent GBSD was given the name LGM-35A Sentinel. Cost increases have been delayed, though, and the total cost has gone up a lot more than expected. As a result, the deployment plan has been pushed back by a couple of years. The cost of each rocket in the program also went up because of higher costs for infrastructure and command systems. The W-87 Mode 1 thermonuclear warhead will be used on the Sentinel instead of the W-78 weapon that is currently in use. The Sentinel is set to go into service in the late 2020s, starting with current warheads and quickly switching to the new ones. There will be testing for the Sentinel at many places, such as Hill Air Force Base in Utah and Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. There will also be testing at Dugway Proving Ground in Kwajalein Atoll. There was already a test launch in 2010 with a re-entry vehicle for the Sentinel. There are lawmakers from nuclear-armed states who told President Obama they would not back the new START treaty with Russia unless he agreed to update the U.S. nuclear triad, which includes nuclear weapons that can be launched from land, sea, and air. President Obama decided to update or get rid of all three parts of the triad. Later, the U.S. Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center asked for ideas on how to make a new nuclear ICBM to replace the Minuteman III missiles, which are getting old. The new weapons, called the Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent, were first used in 1970. They would be gradually put in place over 10 years, starting in the late 2020s, and were estimated to cost around $264 billion over 50 years. The deal was up for grabs between Boeing and Northrop Grumman. Both companies were given contracts to do the initial work, but Boeing dropped out because Northrop had an edge because it had bought Orbital, a key supplier. Northrop Grumman was the only company that bid, so they got the job of making the new ICBM. Israel also has a defense system that blows my mind. There are a lot of conflicts in the area where this country is located, and its neighbors don't like it being there. Because of how close it is to its enemies, a rocket attack could happen at any time. Israel has built a strong anti-missile shield as part of its top-notch defense system to protect itself from sudden strikes. That works all the time and can stop missiles that are going quickly. This cutting-edge technology not only keeps the country safe, but it also shows how strong and smart Israel is. What kind of power does Israel's air defense have? Israel has been in a lot of fights and used a lot of different weapons to protect its borders since it became independent in 1948. Israel used weapons left over from the Second World War in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, which had basic tanks and small arms weapons. China, France, and the UK all worked together against Egypt during the Suez Crisis in 1956. The Israeli Air Force proved to be very strong in this battle, and the British-made Centurion tanks were very important to Israel's ground troops. They were able to control the air during the 1967 Six-Day War, thanks in part to French Mirage 3 fighter jets. USSR-made T-54 and T-55 tanks were also used in the war. By the Yom Kippur War in 1973, new weapons had been made, such as American attack jets. This war showed how important anti-tank missiles are, especially the Soviet RPG-7 rockets that Arab troops used. The RPG-7 is a simple rocket launcher that can be used more than once. It was made by the Soviet Union to fight tanks and is now made by the Russian company Basalt. People know it for being tough, cheap, and useful. With about 40 countries using it, this makes it the most popular anti-tank weapon in the world. It's also liked by guerrilla and irregular troops. A rough time happened in the late 1990s when Hezbollah in Lebanon fired rockets into northern Israeli cities, giving the Israel Defense Forces an unexpectedly difficult security task. Because of the constant danger of rocket attacks, the Israeli government is thinking about making a short-range anti-missile system. But as the talks about this project went on, U.S. defense officials raised real concerns. Building a strong anti-missile defense system wasn't easy, which led to questions about budget cuts and the large amounts of money that would be needed to deal with these problems. It was a tough process for Israel's Ministry of Defense to start making things. A lot of hard work by experts led to the building of the Iron Dome. This high-tech defense system shows that Israel is very dedicated to keeping its citizens safe and that it can come up with new ways to deal with security dangers. Short-range rockets and military shells fired from 4 to 70 kilometers away can be stopped and destroyed by the system if they are headed toward an area with people living in it. Between 2011 and 2021, the U.S. gave $1.6 billion to the Iron Dome defense system. In 2022, Congress gave an extra $1 billion. When Brigadier General Daniel Gold took over as head of the Israel Defense Forces Research and Development Division in 2004, he began to push for the Iron Dome project. Gold strongly backed the anti-missile project and even broke Army rules to get the money it needed. He was also very important in getting politicians to support the idea. Hezbollah fired about 4,000 rockets at northern Israel during the Second Lebanon War in 2006. These rockets hit Haifa, which is the third biggest city in the country. 44 Israeli civilians were killed in this attack, and about 2,500 people had to leave their homes. During the war, about 1 million Israelis had to stay in bomb shelters or nearby places. Between 2000 and 2008, Hamas shot over 8,000 rockets into Israel from Gaza. A lot of these rockets came from 122mm grade weapons that were brought into Gaza illegally. This gave them a longer range. This made things very dangerous for security because almost 1 million Israelis live in the south and can be hit by rockets. The Iron Dome was chosen by Israel's defense minister Amir Peretz in February 2007 as the best way to protect against these short-range rockets. It cost $210 million to make and was made by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems in the IDF. The Iron Dome is a very advanced device that can find and destroy short-range rockets, artillery shells, and ballistic missiles. The Iron Dome has been very good at stopping threats, since it was first used to protect Israeli citizens and important military assets from rocket and missile attacks. There are violent Palestinian groups in Gaza that were thought to have about 30,000 rockets and mortar bombs that the Iron Dome could hit when it was fired. These guns have a wide range, and while they don't have advanced guidance systems, their accuracy has grown over time. There are guesses about the number, type, range, and payload of these rockets. Basically, the Iron Dome's main job is to quickly catch and destroy short-range projectiles that pose an immediate threat. Usually, these dangers come in the form of 155mm rockets that can reach up to 70 kilometers, which is about 43 miles. What makes the Iron Dome unique is that it always works, no matter what the outside conditions are, like bad weather at any time of the day or night, or multiple threats at the same time. Because it is flexible and reliable, it is very important in the area of missile defense, especially when it comes to protecting Israeli lands and the people who live there. The radar that finds and tracks enemies is the heart of the Iron Dome and acts as its watchful eye. The Israel Military Forces in ELTA, an Israeli military company that is part of Israel Aerospace Industries, work together to make this radar. That's its main job, to see threats coming as they're fired and follow their paths. The radar gives the Iron Dome exact information that it uses to figure out how to stop the threats. The Iron Dome's Battle Management and Weapon Control Center is where all the important decisions are made. This command center, which was made by the Israeli software company Rafael and Empress Systems, is in charge of the whole system. It carefully looks at data from the radar to figure out where risks are coming from. Based on the threat's direction, the center chooses the exact moment to fire a missile. It's like the brain of the system's quick, efficient, and very good defense. The rocket firing unit is the last piece in this puzzle. It is very important for stopping threats before they get to the base. The main thing it does is fire the Tamir defense missile. Rafael made the Tamir missile, which has improved electro-optic sensors and multiple steering fins that make it very accurate and easy to move. Each Iron Dome battery usually has 3 to 4 launchers, and each one can hold up to 20 defense missiles. This setup does a great job of showing off the system's amazing abilities to handle multiple battles at the same time, which shows how important it is for missile defense. The Iron Dome works because everything is organized and runs smoothly. This shows how technology and teamwork can work together. The ELM 2084 radar in the system keeps a close eye on the skies like a guardian. It finds threats coming in and collects important information about their tracks, which is needed for accurate interception. When the radar gets the information it needs, it hands over to the Battle Management and Weapon Control Center. It carefully looks at the material to figure out the path of the known threat. This is a very important step to take to see if the threat is real and could hurt a certain place. Interceptor rockets are only fired by the system when a real threat is found. As soon as an Iron Dome knows there is a threat, it acts quickly. An interceptor rocket is fired at the threat to stop it and destroy it. The Tamir missile can exactly move before it reaches its target, which helps make sure it is intercepted. The Iron Dome is different from other air defense systems because of the way it is set up. The Iron Dome is not centralized like centralized systems, where all the parts are grouped together. Each launcher can be controlled from afar using a secure wireless link and can work on its own. This setup makes the system more adaptable and quick to deal with new threats. Reports say that each Iron Dome battery can protect an area of about 150 square kilometers, which shows how far it can reach. The goal of the Iron Dome is to provide complete and effective defense against a wide range of aerial dangers. This decentralized design fits with that goal. Israel was struck by Hamas, a militant group based in Gaza with a huge number of missiles on October 7, 2023. Hamas fired thousands of rockets at different places in Israel. Several reports say that more than 3,000 rockets got through Israel's defenses and killed about 1,300 Israelis. Because of this, Israel quickly began a counterattack and the next day officially declared war on Hamas. Israel chose to use its brand new high-tech laser defense system in this battle. Israel began looking into laser technology in the mid-1970s when military experts saw that it could help the country's defense. Working together with Israeli defense firms like Rafael and Israel Aerospace Industries, they began to study the basics of laser weapons and how they could be used for defense. Even though they didn't have a lot of money or knowledge at the time, They focused on studies that led to the making of early prototypes. In 1976, tests of a gas dynamic laser with about 10 kilowatts of power were one of the first big wins, even though there were a lot of problems. This accomplishment set the stage for future improvements in laser weapons and kept the idea of using high-energy lasers for defense alive, which spurred more progress. Israel put in a lot of work from the late 1970s to the early 2000s to make high-energy laser defense weapons. Through study, testing, and experiments, they made a lot of progress. The prototype of the Nautilus, which was made in the late 1990s, was a major accomplishment during this time. That was a project that they worked on together with the US. This system showed how far Israel had come in laser technology and was a big step toward even better laser defense systems. The Nautilus paved the way for future progress in this area. In the 2000s, Israel started to look into switching its defense laser devices from chemical lasers to solid-state lasers. There were many benefits to solid-state lasers, such as higher efficiency and fewer organizational needs. In this way, they become a better choice for military use. This change was a big turning point in Israel's laser defense policy, which led to the creation of Iron Beam and other systems. The Iron Beam system, which uses solid-state lasers, is the best defense technology Israel has ever made. It is the result of decades of study, testing, and new ideas. Israel is always improving its skills and adapting to new challenges. The Iron Beam is proof of how committed the country is to keeping itself safe through cutting-edge technology. The Iron Beam laser system has become an important part of Israel's defense plan because it can effectively counter a wide range of airborne threats. Rafael Advanced Defense Systems and Israel's Ministry of Defense worked together to make this weapon. It is meant to work as a directed energy weapon system that stops threats like rockets and grenade shells before they can hit. The system's advanced laser technology places a high-energy beam on targets, overheating them and stopping them before they can do any harm. This is done by UAVs that are very fast and accurate. One of the best things about the Iron Beam is that it can quickly hit multiple targets, giving you almost instantaneous protection against threats. It is an important part of Israel's defense weapons because it is fast and accurate. With systems like the Iron Dome and the Iron Beam laser system, Israel has even more defenses to choose from. This makes it easier for Israel to deal with different air threats and protects its airspace even from more advanced strikes. The Iron Beam is another cheap way to defend yourself. Traditional missile systems can be expensive because interceptor rockets are expensive. The Iron Beam, on the other hand, uses lasers, which are less expensive to run. On the other hand, the Iron Beam has some problems. Weather factors like fog and dust can weaken the laser beam, which can change how well it works. Even with these problems, laser technology is supposed to get better and solve them. As Israel keeps working to make the Iron Beam better, it will become an even more important part of its defense plan. Russia, on the other hand, is also building up their defenses. At the start of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's third term in July 2024, Russia extended its offer to work with India on making the new S-500 air defense system. This was revealed by IDRW. India wants to improve its defenses, which is why this idea was put forward. Having already bought the Russian S-400 system to protect the borders, the S-500 is better because it responds faster, in 3 to 4 seconds. The S-500 can handle dangers like drones, hypersonic missiles, and ballistic missiles with a range of up to 600 kilometers, while the S-400 can only do so for 9 to 10 seconds. It can keep an eye on up to 10 supersonic targets at the same time and find things in space up to 2,000 kilometers above. In May 2018, its major focus was on ballistic missiles with a range of 300 to 500 miles. The US says that Russia tested the S-500's long-range missile powers and got good results. Ability to think. Sergei Shoigu, the Russian Minister of Defense, also said that the S-500 Prometheus system would be sent to Ukraine. This system can shoot down ICBMs and hypersonic rockets up to 200 kilometers in the air, among other things. The fast rockets it uses and its 3 to 4 second response time make it good for quick deployment in battle. Thanks for seeing. click on the link that shows up on your screen to watch one of our other videos. Enjoy your stay here. See you then.